Yeah, and the thing is when you add it to their specifications.
So, welcome to Northern Light Spiritual Center. My name is Reverend Vaughan Amaré, and I'm going to be doing today's talk. Reverend Michael Amaré is serving as what's referred to in this practice as practitioner. So he's going to be doing a reading and a meditation today. Northern Light Spiritual Center is a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Light Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. So, and our promise, we promise to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. Please, we acknowledge our presence here on traditional and unceded lands of the First Peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we also acknowledge that so much of what we know in this country today, including our culture, economic growth and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little or no recognition. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. If you'd like, please join us for our opening song, In This Very Room by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is a time that we set aside on Sunday for a short meditation, a time where you can center yourself to become still and calm. And so I just invite you to take in a couple nice, deep cleansing breaths. So take it in, hold it, and then release it. So take it in, deep breath in, hold it, and release. Deep breath in, hold it, and release. And one more time. One deep breath in, and release it. And as we release it, release anything that's come before this moment. Your trip here, getting up the night before, any worries, woes, any frustrations, just allow them to be set aside for now, because you can always pick them up later if you choose. That's your choice. But now I invite you just to set them aside so that you can become calm, still, and at peace. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And as you're centering yourself, as you're seated as comfortable as you can be, I just want to invite you to count the things that you are grateful for. Seeing today's talk is going to be based around gratitude. I invite you to allow yourself to find those things, small, medium, and large, that you are grateful for. And just say to yourself, thank you. And that's all you have to say, is thank you. So as we ponder these thoughts, as those things flow through your mind or come to mind, just embrace them and say thank you. I give thanks for waking up in my right mind. And I give thanks for each one of you that have come today. And so as we give thanks for this day, as we give thanks for our lives, as we give thanks for the people in our lives, just say thank you. And when you're ready and comfortable, you come back to the room and open your eyes. And so it is. And now we have, let's see, we have a declaration that we share. Okay, I'll read it through once and then we'll read it through 2 more times. Our declaration: we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. Now, if you join me.
We are an expanding and loving community, working in a field of infinite potential.
One more time.
We are an expanding and loving community, working in a field of infinite potential.
So it is.
So good.
Okay, now. The reading for today, I have two short ones. One is a quote by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, and it's called The Prayer of Gratitude. In everything, give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. How we love to do for those who cooperate with us and are grateful for our small endeavors. Gratitude is one of the chief graces of human existence and is crowned in heaven with the consciousness of unity. And this other one is called The Only Prayer You Ever Say, and it's from a blog from Alice at Dawn. If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. And that's a quote by Meister Eckhart. We make prayer and life too complicated. I love how Eckhart boils it down to thank you. For what can we say thank you to God this week? We who live in the wealthiest country in the world, we who are recipients of a quality of life most others on the globe can only hope for. We who have so many material possessions that simplifying has become a whole thing unto itself. A place to sleep, a warm abode, clothes, enough food, a few friends perhaps, a family that loves us or tries to. Freedom to choose our life direction, the community, neighbors, the rule of law, a best friend, a partner, a spouse, a child or two, laughter, Netflix, popcorn, dark red wine, candles on the cold fall evening, and on and on and on we go. And so it is. And I would just like for us to take a moment of silence to hold a community in California where the shooting was today, where 10 individuals were killed and many more injured. To hold them in thought and send our love and healing to them across the miles. Thank you. And so it is.
So if you'd like, join me for this chant. If you don't want to, then just be sung too. The chant is very simple. There's more to me than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in me. And then sing that a second time, and then change it up so that there's more to you, and go through that twice. And then there's more to us, and then we come back to there's more to me. And hopefully by that time we'll really feel it. There's more to me than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in me. And again. There's more to me than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in me. Now it's the you time. There's more to you than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in you. There's more to you than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in you. Now us. There's more to us than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in us. Us again. More to us than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in us. And now we end it out with me. There's more to me than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in me. There's more to me than meets the eye. Sands on shores, endless stars in the sky. Infinity lives inside, divinity abiding in me. Divinity abiding in me. Divinity abiding in me. Thank you for singing along.
Good job. Okay.
How about getting off of these antibiotics? How about stopping eating when I'm full of? How about them transparent dangling carrots? How about that ever
So that was Alanis Morissette, and that's a lot of me. I wanted to place that as the foundation for today's talk, because with the whole notion of gratitude, we can have a whole lot of things come up. Like today when I woke up to find out that 10 more people had been killed. 10 more people had been injured in a mass shooting. And I was watching a program with Laverne Cox, and she said, why is it that we have lawmakers, we have 160 bills to outlaw trans identity, but legislations do nothing about gun protection? And I go back to this song because sometimes things in the world just make me respond in a way that is without gratitude, without a space for gratitude, without a space for grace. And what I have to remember, and what this song reminds me, thank you, India, because she made a journey there and it changed her. We all make journeys where we are changed. Michael has talked before about his trip to Egypt. And on that trip, something happened to him. He became a different person. One of my stories that people who know me have heard, and they're like, oh, this again. But others haven't. I ended up on dialysis. I had received a kidney pancreas transplant back in 1996. And my kidney lasted from 96 to 2009, which was a really good run. They don't tell you when you're on a waiting list that organ donations, organ transplants aren't permanent, that they have a lifespan, that the very medications that you take to keep the organs are toxic to the organs. So when I was on dialysis, one of the people that was there who had dialysis at the same time as me, Kenny was this person who really gave me the encounter with the Buddha, because nothing could faze Kenny. I heard about his story, how he had received a transplant after waiting for 12 years. He was a young man when he first was identified with his kidney disease. 12 years he waited. And when they transplanted the kidney, they put it in backwards. They put it in upside down. And the transplant failed. Now, I see the look on your face. The look on my face is, oh my God, what a group of idiots. Oh my God, how terrible. Oh my God. But Kenny was like, things happen. Bad things happen. He was so peaceful and at ease. He wasn't in a place of bitter anger, which I would have definitely been more on that camp. I wouldn't have been in the thank you, but he was in the thank you. He's like, I had days where I didn't need dialysis. I had days. He was excited about his days. And then when we were there, so that's the background story. When we were there, one of the things with kidney dialysis is that you have to figure a way so that the blood comes out of your body, is cleaned in a machine, and then comes back into your body. I have this little thing. I don't know if you can see it. I have this place where they combined a vein and an artery. And it looks really small, but this was the most painful thing I ever went through. And I had my chest cut open for my organ transplants. I had all kinds of health things, but this was the thing that hurt more than anything. And I think part of it was I had finally come to a point in my personal evolution where I was willing to feel my body again. I had learned how to turn off, that I wouldn't pay attention to my body because I was so used to it being in pain that I thought, I don't need to hear from you. But I had gone through a process with somebody who helped me reconnect and say, even the pain has news for me. And don't disconnect from it because it has a message. So when he had one of the places where he was having the site to receive the blood going out and the blood coming in, they gave him 3rd-degree burns when he was there. And once again, this is a man who went through incredible suffering, and yet his response is, people make mistakes. He was this peaceful, loving presence, and it gave me something to strive towards. How do I choose to be peaceful and loving in the face of idiots? How, when people are completely, I just can't imagine that you can walk through the world and be that stupid, be in the world with me, and how do I let go of my judgment and be a little bit more gracious? And it's something I'm still working on. It's not something that I check mark, I've done that. Been there, done that, it's taken care of. There are still things that occur, like a look at politics in the United States. I look at a governor who's like making a really big deal about being anti-woke. And I have to pause and think, where can I find gratitude here? In the song, how about all of the things that we encounter? How about if today, when I look at that, when I look at what happened, how about it, instead of being focused on the idiocy that allows everybody to carry a gun if you want to, and you don't need any training whatsoever, you can just carry it. A 1st grader can bring a gun to school and shoot their teacher. It's just what happens. I saw a clip with a baby, someone toddling around with a gun in the hallway. I saw a clip where they've got AK-47s designed for children. They weigh less, but they shoot more. And the pathway to gratitude for me with this morning is that there were people there who came forward to care. There are medical care providers who can respond to the people who are wounded. What happens to me? What might happen to you when my attention shifts from the anger at the stupidity to the gratitude for those care providers? One of the things that Alanis talks about or sings about in the song is that when I let go, that was the place where I received more than I ever needed. One of the things about gratitude is that it opens us up to receive. It fundamentally changes us and how we move through the world. For anybody who's ever been in therapy, one of the big moments in therapy is when you can get over being angry at your parents for how much they screwed you up. I learned all of these terrible things from my parents. And Charlemagne the God was describing that, my dad did some really crazy things, but he through therapy, he came to the conclusion he just did the best that he could with what he was given. And instead of judging from the place where he's at, instead of judging from the place where I'm at, to be able to imagine myself, putting myself in the shoes of my mother and father who had very different experiences than I had. And can I respond to that from a place of gratitude rather than a place of judgment? What does it take to make that shift, a moment by moment shift, to go from judgment, from condemnation, from blame, to gratitude? And you saw me there. I made a movement. Sometimes it may be deliberately pausing and saying, look at me. I am in a state of rage. I'm in a state of being flummoxed. I am completely out of my mind with how crazy things is. But the good thing is I'm noticing the out of my mindness. There's a huge difference between being out of our minds and noticing it. Who has ever caught themselves right on the brink of being out of your mind? Anybody here? Okay. We have the opportunity to be able to say, look where I've gotten to. And is this the place where I want to be living? Again, I don't know if you've seen, but they have these videos of people having road rage moments. In those road rage moments, they're out of their minds. When my kids were little, they were like, you're a very nice person except when you're driving. You drive and suddenly your niceness just evaporates. And it instead is this viperous evil presence. So a lot of times now, Michael does most of the driving. So I don't have to enter it, and I can still watch myself. I'm like, why are you letting that person pass you? Why are you letting that person who passed in front of you? Why, they knew they'd have to get in this lane. Why are you letting them in this lane? I still have that tendency. But the gratitude is, I'm with a person who's a very gentle, loving person. So it's like, oh, look, they need to be in the lane. They're like my Kenny. This patient is like, oh, look at you, you jerk. And it's like, oh, yep, they needed to be in this lane. So I'm letting them in this lane. I'm only going to create an accident if I don't. Really, and how is that an advantage for me? It isn't. It's never an advantage for us. With the whole notion of gratitude, we have a very special day today. Today marks the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year. And we have left behind the year of the tiger. I was born in the year of the tiger. And we are entering the year of the rabbit. And Michael was born in the year of the rabbit. Now, characteristics of the rabbit are, I have to find it here, grace, beauty, mercy, and good luck. I'll say that again. Grace, beauty, mercy, and good luck. How might we embrace this year? How might we be grateful for this year as a time of mercy? What would happen if we look at this year as a time of being merciful? So when people screw up, instead of like, I want their bottoms on the plate and I want as much punishment as possible. Mercy isn't about that. Mercy is much more attuned with and akin to what I learned from the Buddha Kenny, who was with me. Yes, they gave him 3rd-degree burns, and he was like, mistakes happen. How might each of us experience our lives in a more open and whole and blessed way if we just look at things as being mistakes rather than idiots who have targeted us? The difference between the Western New Year is it's all newness. With the Eastern New Year, it's about reunion. It's about coming together. Who will we come together with in this new year? And I would propose that experience of gratitude lets us come together in a way that is much more rich and fulfilling than that orientation of judgment. Do I really want that person coming over to my house? I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. I don't know about you, but I know I've definitely had lists. My idiot lists. My idiocy lists. The things that I'm like, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this. Then when I'm in that person's presence, I'm looking at all of those things. I have a colleague who is leaving the setting where I work. And in some ways it's a good thing because they've really been struggling. And their struggle has created struggles for their peers. It's created struggles for the people that they work with, whom they work. And to have an orientation of gratitude in the face of what seems like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. But to have an orientation of gratitude of they were trying their best. And their best didn't come up to my measure. Letting go of my measure of best and just being grateful for what they did. They meant well. Now, one of the things that I've talked about before, and I share it with people who haven't heard me, is that I am very clear there's a distinction between intention and impact. They're completely different animals. And so often we try to say, but I really meant well. Yeah, that harmful thing you did That was the impact. Pay attention to the harm that you may have caused, regardless of the intention that you had. Love your intention, but if you're not going to own up to the harm, to the impact that you did, set your intention aside and become aware and own the impact. And I would say that an orientation, an attitude of gratitude per se, is one of those things that allows us to make that movement. To see that we may all have good intention, and sometimes, we've heard the expression, the road,
Hell.
this paved with good intentions. Yes. You've all heard it. I didn't have to say it. Thank you. So that we've got good intentions. And sometimes our intentions don't prove to be sufficient. Gratitude, forgiveness helps us navigate that. In the song, I thank you for nothingness. Sometimes that's all we're getting from the universe is just nothingness. Thank you, silence. Sometimes we really want a very clear announcement from the powers of all creation. We want to hear our names called out. We want to hear the expression, I love you. But the song says, thank you, silence. Sometimes being loved is that moment of silence. Sometimes being held is that nothingness. It's like, I want more than nothingness. The magic about gratitude is being able to let go of what we want. Who wants to let go of what they want? And again, people who have heard me before, there's an image that's been repeated. There's a cage for catching monkeys, and you put the banana in a box, and the monkey's hand goes in the box, and when they've made a fist, they can't get their fist with the banana out of the box, so they are caught, and the monkey just can't figure out how to let go of the hand. And it seems like such an image, but it's like, how many of us can't get out of a situation because we won't let it go? Gratitude. Thank you that there was a banana there, but I guess I'm not going to have it. Do I want to be caught in the box and hold on to the banana? Or am I willing to say there was a banana there, but it wasn't my banana? So, when it comes to gratitude, everything counts. Everything. And that's, again, what the song was about. So you can play it for yourself if you want it again. Because sometimes the things that we don't think we can be grateful for, be grateful for that. You know, that person that gives you that compliment, take it. How often do we just set a compliment aside? I like your shirt. Well, you always say that, so it doesn't really mean anything because you always tell me that. If we receive a compliment, thank you. Take it in and be grateful for it. Rather than dispatching with it, rather than dismissing it, rather than saying, oh, they always say that, so it really doesn't matter. If they always say that, then there's someone who gives compliments. Be grateful that you've got someone in your life that's giving compliments. It's better than thinking, well, they don't really mean it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. How do we what's the impact that we let ourselves have? We don't have to, is their intention, like, I'm making this compliment, but I really don't mean it. Am I going to get into those kinds of head games? And what does it cost us? Do I really want to go through my life walking around sideways thinking, did they mean it or not? They may not have. And maybe they are trying to screw with us. But we don't have to be screwed with. We can choose. And gratitude is a pathway to choice. Gratitude is a vehicle that can transport us to a whole new realm. So Alanis Morissette went to India and had a change of heart, had a change of being. We don't have to make that big of a trip. The trip can be that gap of stepping into that moment and saying, am I out of my mind here? And do I want to stay out of my mind here? Or might I do something different? Might I respond with gratitude? Might I respond with forgiveness? Might I respond with love? Be grateful for everything. Now, what blocks our gratitude? What gets in the way of our feeling gratitude? Well, how many of us have a habit of blame? How many of us have a habit of complaining? How many of us have a habit of shaming? Those are really good clues that we have a block between us and gratitude. Shame, blame, complaint. Shame, blame, complain. Easy, right? Just the thing is, it's about just recognizing it and saying, look, I'm in a place of blaming. I'm blaming the current president for being stupid enough to have taken classified documents home. Why did he do that? Get off of my blame thing. Why did he do that? Probably because he had a gazillion documents that he's gone through in his 90-year career. Blaming isn't doing me any good. It's not doing them any good. Do you remember being, as kids, have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? And how did it feel? Did you like it? Being blamed and blaming, it's not a particularly pleasant experience. So when we recognize that that's going on, it's an opportunity, again, to stop. And just know that it's happening. It's easy enough to recognize a complaint. Does anybody have a hard time recognizing when you're complaining? Anyone need support with figuring out when a complaint is happening? It's kind of pretty obvious. Shame is a little bit trickier because shame is the experience of heaping crap on ourselves. And when we're in the midst of shame, we don't put ourselves out there. When I was in graduate school, I was studying the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is, oh, I did this thing and I feel terrible about it. Shame is, I did this thing and I feel terrible about me. The object of what's terrible is the self. Guilt is, oh, I did this crappy thing. Shame is, I am this crappy thing. And the thing about shame is it's a little bit like a black hole. It sucks in on itself. So the trick with shame is just the recognition that it's happening and to step away from the black hole. To let go of the notion that I will be sucked into there and I will never get out. How many have heard the story about there was a hole in the street? I walked down the street, I fell in the hole. I was angry, it was terrible. I hated it. I was stuck in the hole a long time. Next day I went in the street. I knew there was a hole there, but I fell in again. Next day, I knew there was a hole. I fell in, but I got out more quickly. Next day is, I walked around the hole. Woo! Next day, I took a different street. Shame can be like that hole in the street. We can make a choice if we end up there. So shame, blame, complain. When we recognize those, we can also recognize that we have alternatives and that attitude of gratitude. I'd like to review a story, and this comes from years ago when I was a little kid. This was a movie on television I was able to go and see. Actually, I originally saw it in a movie theater. So I bought a ticket and I went to the movie theater, and then several years later it came out, it was on TV. It was a show called Godspell. And I don't know if I see a couple of nods. So this is a scene from that show. And it's going to tell a story that I think is important for better understanding gratitude.
Me too.
Oh.
You do all these things.
He's about 72.
Okay, let's all listen. All these things here. Back around. That's right.
He'd spent it all when a severe famine fell upon the country, and he began to feel the pinch. So he decided to attach himself to one of the local landowners, who sent him on the farm to mind the pigs. He would have been glad to have filled his belly with the pods the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. And then he came to his senses. He said, how many of my father's paid servants have more food than they can eat? And here I am starving to death. I will set off and I will go to my father's house, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against God and against you. I am no longer fit to be called your son. Treat me as one of your paid servants. this here day, for this son of mine was lost. And it's found. One dead. Let's go back to life. Hey, it's not that different, but yeah. Now, the other kid was out at the farm working. And on his way back, as he approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called on one of his servants and asked him what it meant. The servant said, your brother's come back home again. Your brother's killed a fatted calf, because he got a back safe and sound. Well, the brother was rather irritated by this. He refused to go into the house. The father came out and pleaded with him, but he regarded, saying, "You know how I worked for you all these years, and you never gave me so much as a gig for a feast with my friends. But once this son of yours turns up, after running through your money with his women, you kill the fatted calf for him." I said, kill it. I shall kill it. Yahoo yippity. My boy, said the father, you'll always be with me and everything I have is yours. Now, how can we help but celebrate on this happy day? For your brother here was dead, and he's come back to life, metaphorically speaking. Was lost, and he's found. That's my boys.
So I wanted to go through that story. Because Ernest Holmes used the story of the prodigal sons as an illumination about gratitude. He described the notion of the two sons as two states of consciousness, two states of being. We have one state which is just immersed in divinity itself, and then there's a state where we feel separated. The one son asks to be separated, asks to go on their own. How often do we set ourselves up by separating ourselves? One of the other pieces in the story that Ernest Holmes drew attention to is how the son who was there all of the time is embittered at the end of the story. And Ernest Holmes wrote, I have to find it, the elder son had missed the mark as well as the younger, for he had been living in the midst of plenty and had not recognized it. He needed but to have asked, and he would have received all that his father had. As a kid, that story frustrated me to no end because I felt so much like the good son, the one who stayed behind, the one who did all of the work. Has anyone ever identified with the one who stayed behind, the one who tries to live up to everybody else's expectations? And then you're irritated when the one who went away comes back and is welcomed and celebrated. And it's like, well, what about me? Why didn't get very celebrated? Part of the story is about recognizing, like in the song, that the divinity is already in us. We're always always worth celebrating. There isn't a moment when we aren't worthy of celebration. Thanksgiving is about opening up to our own divinity, opening up to our own, the way that the belief of that Ernest Holmes proposed, and that here at Northern Lights we continue to say, think about it. What if each one of us, our unique way that the divine has chosen to show up? What if we know that when we go into any situation, we might be the presence that is so important? We might be the presence of truth, the presence of wisdom, the presence of love, the presence of light, the presence of wholeness. And we might choose that. That's what the teaching of Ernest Holmes proposed. We can either think we're insignificant nothings in a universe that's indifferent, or we can make the choice that there's a wisdom that operates in the universe. And no matter how many instances of stupidity counter that, maybe it's our noticing that isn't letting stupidity run rampant. Maybe it's our being a place of light and wisdom that offers an alternative. So consider life itself as a gift. Ernest Holmes said, unless they conceive of themselves as possessing good things, they will not possess them. Unless they conceive of themselves as possessing good things, they will not possess them. So gratefully imagine the good things that we want. Do we want good relationships? We're much more likely to have good relationships if we imagine good relationships, if we imagine the possibility of good relationships. That's completely different than imagining that all relationships are going to be crappy. If we imagine a possibility, we open ourselves to that. The attitude of gratitude creates that space. So I'm going to conclude with an affirmation. And I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to invite us to say it 3 times so that we really ground it. So I feel grateful for all I have to share. I feel grateful for all I have to share. I feel grateful for all I have to share. And last time, I feel grateful for all I have to share. And so it is. Oh, and we have a song to conclude the talk. And hopefully you'll hear it.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Now thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. I wanna say thank you, thank you. I wanna say thank you, oh thank you, thank you. I wanna say thank you, say thank you. 'Cause I'm so grateful, so grateful, so grateful, so grateful, so grateful, so grateful. I'm so grateful, so grateful. I wanna say thank you, say thank you, yes thank you, thank you. I wanna say thank you, say thank you, thank you, thank you. 'Cause I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. I wanna just say thank you now, just thank you now, thank you now, thank you now, thank you now, thank you now. Each and every day I'm gonna say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you, Reverend Vaughan, for. So usually we only celebrate gratitude usually, in the month of November. But my belief is that gratitude is to be shared each and every day, because the more we're grateful for, the more at peace and at ease we are. And I have to admit something that has bothered me. We got our notice that we have to, vacate because they sold the building, and I was angry. It was like a punch in the gut, because we've been here 8.5 years, always paid our rent on time, always took care of the space, and I watched out for the other spaces at times, and I felt betrayed. And somebody reminded me that another minister on Facebook reminded me that that's not the way to go about it. And so I just want to state that I am grateful for the time we had in this space. I mean, this space when we looked at it was, I want to say a pigsty, which would describe it pretty well. And we had the opportunity to clean it up and to make it our own space for 8.5 years, to make it a sacred ground. And I'm really grateful for that. And now I turn to gratitude for being able to venture out, which is frightening, I admit, but it's a new opportunity to go somewhere else. And so I had to admit that, because it was really an anger. And now with the Lunar New Year, it's like Reverend Vaughan said, it is a time of renewal. And that's with us having to move, is a time of renewal. I mean, it's a time to make something else new, make it our own. And so I just want to thank everyone for being here and for contributing your presence, for your contributing your love and support. And if anybody wants to contribute, we either have the basket here, or we can contribute online. If you go to our website, and there's a donate button. And so I want to give thanks for this time together. for this time of community, this time of love, this time of sharing, this time of connecting. And give thanks for each person here that has ever walked in these doors, has ever supported us, has ever been connected to or will be connected to Northern Light Spiritual Center. And so I give thanks for that. And I raise and I praise each and every one of you in love, in respect. And so it is.
Sorry.
Reverend Michael,